Welcome, Earth Science students, to another one of our videos. Today we're going to be talking about mass movement. Make sure that if you have not taken our last quiz, that you do so as soon as possible. Or if you haven't finished your assignments on glaciers, wind, and rivers, make sure that you do that as well. Again, I cannot stress enough how much coming into office hours can help you if you're struggling. Hey, don't just sit there and wallow in your own sorrow. Get out there. Hey, reach out to me. Either come into my office hours. We can set up a private time to meet. Again, I'm available whenever, if you want to set up that time, and let's get this all done. Okay, so let's move into mass movement. Mass movement. Okay, this is the downslope movement of soil and weathered rock resulting from the force of gravity. Okay, so these are going to be all your rock slides and your mud slides and all this where the downslope movement of the soil is wearing away, and eventually it slides down the either side of a mountain or hill or whatever. Okay, so in order for mass movements to happen, you'll look down there at the bottom bullet. Gravitational force finally overcomes the resisting force. So that means the force of the mud compactness and pressure, or a lot of things that hold these things in place are tree roots or plant roots. And if those are gone, or if the gravitational force becomes too much, then it's going to pull all of this mass downward. Hey, here are some examples of mass movements. As you can see, the mudslides here are pretty vast, and they bring in a lot of soil and dirt and rock and debris all with it as they travel down. All right, so there are some different influencing factors depending on some things about what kind of slide you get, or how devastating it is, and that sort of thing. Okay, so some of the influencing factors are: number one, the angle of the slope. A steeper angle, okay, is going to mean that it's more likely to happen at that place. Obviously, if it's less steep, like this one over here, okay, there's less chance. Okay, this one here, there's less chance of them going to happen on this slope rather than the one over here that's really steep. Okay, now other things that also include vegetation on this hillside. So if there's a lot of vegetation, it's less likely that you're going to get a slide of some kind or a mass movement of some kind, because the roots literally hold the mass of the dirt and the debris and the rock in place. Hey, it also depends on your weather and your climate. Okay, if you get a lot of rain, hey, that can cause a lot of weathering to happen, and therefore you get a lot of mass movements. Okay, in places that are drier, you tend to not have mass movements like this. Okay, now if it's dry for a long time and then you get a drastic amount of rain, it is more likely to happen. Let's see, number four, and that kind of has to go with number four, the water content. Okay, so if the water in the soil is already there, okay, adding more to it is going to break down the rock even more. Okay, if it is different kinds of water, so we can get stuff like acid rain, that sort of thing. If it comes down as snow instead of rain, that can have an influence on whether or not it causes a rock slide and that sort of thing. Okay, all of those kind of things depend on the water content that is falling on that area. Okay, so there are some triggers that make these things happen more often than not. A lot of the triggers are by earthquakes. Obviously, the shaking of the ground can jar the soil loose and all the rocks loose and make them fall or start sliding down, especially accompanied by rain that will soften up the soil. And then on the second part, mostly triggered by excessive amounts of water. Okay, if you get flood-like waters raining down on certain areas, okay, it can cause major weathering on the slopes of these hills and cause their cause their structure to not be as sound anymore, and it causes these mass movements. Other possible triggers, volcanic eruptions. Again, when things erupt, there's going to be some kind of shaking of the earth. That can cause vibrations and things to break loose. Loud thunder can cause vibrations and break things loose and have them fall as well. Explosions, okay, when people start cutting roads through mountains and stuff. They use dynamite to blow holes in the sides of mountains. That can trigger mass movements other places. Human activity, okay, humans can cause avalanches, they can cause rock slides, they can cause lots of things. And then sometimes they happen and we have a lot of questions about why they happen. We don't know exactly why certain rock slides happen. It may have been dry and whatever. And then all of a sudden you have a rock slide. Some of that could also be due to like continental plates moving, some sorts of things like that. But eventually, again, if you go back to the first slide, whenever gravity overcomes whatever is holding it in place, that's when you're going to get a mass movement. Okay, so classification of mass movements, they are classified different ways. First of all, they're classified by the rate of their movement, whether they're fast or slow. Okay, fast, visible movement of materials. Okay, rock slides that come across the street like this one is a very fast rate of movement. Slow, only visible from their effects. So that means over years and years, you've noticed that this particular section of land has been slowly creeping down or wilting away. And that's going to be a slow rate of movement for those. Okay, types of movement. So you have both falls, slides, and flows. Okay, and again, we're going to get more into this when you guys do this assignment for me. But basically, those are three different ways that the masses move. Okay, some of them they just fall, some slide, some flow more like a river, and they're just different in the way that they act. Then the last thing is the type of material. We have rock, we have soil, we have debris, we even have snow because we will talk about avalanches. All of those are included in these mass movements. Okay, here are some examples. Okay, so we have creeps up here at the top. Those are very slow moving flows. Okay, you'll notice that those are flows. And what you recognize is that a tree that was once standing perfectly upright is now at a slanted angle. That happens over years and years and years of mass movement. Okay, you have debris flow below it. That, of course, is mostly caused by water, just bringing it down. And we will talk about all these different types. We have a slump. We have rock slides that fit into the slide category. And finally, we have rock falls or different kinds of falls where they start at a high original position and literally just fall to the ground without sliding. Okay, so types of mass movements or wasting. Okay, we have creep, we have flows, which we call mud flows. We have slides, which we're going to talk about slumps and avalanches. And then 4, we're going to talk about rock falls. Okay, so moving on, you guys are going to get your own kind of mass movement here shortly. And then we are going to begin to talk about the project-ish kind of project that you guys are going to be completing for this section on mass movements. Okay, so make sure that you look up your name up here on the list and look at which mass movement is for you and that you're going to be doing a PowerPoint on. It's not going to be a long PowerPoint. It's just going to be a few slides. Okay, but find your name. Each of you has one assigned to you. If I forgot your name, make sure that you reach out to me because I'm going to be looking for all of these. I'm going to be looking for all of these in your guys' assignments. Okay, so if your name's not up here, make sure you do so. So on the left, we have first block, and on the right, we have second block. Okay, so there are some requirements for this project, which will be outlined in the Mass Movement Project assignment. I've just included a snapshot here so that you can see what that form is going to look like. So if you follow the Mass Movement Project information outline for what to all include, okay, it has descriptions of things. It talks about all the things you're supposed to include. Make sure you have at least one picture per, that's supposed to say slide, it says side. But one picture per slide explaining what you're trying to get across. You also will need a slide that lists prevention methods, how to prevent avalanches, rock falls, all that stuff. Okay, and then lastly, you need a slide where you cite all the resources that you used while you were looking up your information. Okay, and other than that, that is all I have for you for mass movements. Make sure that you follow along through the mass movement projects as closely as possible so that you can get the best score. And other than that, thanks for watching.